So even getting a good understanding of what kind of lock you have is important. So sometimes we do this ourselves, right? So we have a helmet that we take with us and we think it's locked and we leave. And it's not locked and we come back and say, oh, good that nobody took it. Right? We do this ourselves. So picking locks is a skill, but sometimes locking itself is a skill. Right? We lack that once in a while. Then there are also these more sophisticated attacks. You can always do what is called a brute force attack. Right? Try and guess the password by taking all combinations of things. Right? So many times when we have these password systems, right, they also tell you you can use only so many characters and you can use only characters of this kind. Right? They don't give you a free form. They tell you it should be at least 4 characters, at most 8 characters, and you cannot use anything other than digits, characters, and so on. Right? So I personally have a serious problem with some of these things. So I bank with State Bank of India. And State Bank of India has this very stupid scheme of having a particular length of a password and particular characters that have to be in there. It doesn't allow a few characters and so on. It just makes things very restricted in some form. Right? So the key thing behind a brute force attack is, what if someone can guess? So they guess one at a time, or they do a systematic attack. They try one combination. If that doesn't work, then try another combination. Keep trying till you have exhausted all the different combinations. So let's say I tell you that your passwords must be 4 characters length, exactly 4 characters length, and then you can do something like this: guess A, then followed by A, B, and so on. Do 26 into 26 into 26 into 26, and those many combinations you can unlock. Right? So that's called a brute force attack. You might have seen these things in movies where it plug in a machine and then it keeps trying one after the other and so on. Right? That's called a brute force attack. So brute force attack is possible on systems which should not stop the brute force attacks. Right? So let's say I give infinite access to somebody to my computer and I tell them you guess as many passwords as you want and I'll give you all the time to do it also. Then somebody who's methodical will try this. So have you had suitcases with those 3-digit numbers? Right? So sometimes you know that this is some combination of 5, 3 and 8. I don't know which combination it is. Let me try all the things. Right? You might have done this yourself. Right? So if you don't know that, if you still have time, you go from 000 to 999. Right? When you have the time, and that's it, you have the box open. Correct? So, brute force attack is exactly that. Either you have some information about the password and you work around that, but systematically check all combinations, or if you don't have any information, blindly check all possible combinations. So this is one reason why many websites give you passwords which are of length 8, for example. Right? So they tell you at least of length 8. If you have length 8, then it automatically becomes exponentially higher, right? So 26 power 8 instead of 26 power 4. So the other thing is, many times to prevent brute force attacks, many of these things, websites and so on, tell you that, okay, you try 3 times in a row and that's it, you're logged out for some time. Right? Sometimes logged out forever until you go to the bank. For example, banking systems have this. You put your PIN number wrong 3 times, you will take the ATM card and that's it. You have to go to the bank and authenticate yourself before you get it deactivated. Right? So these are all security things that are built in. So whenever there is money involved, for example, people tend to be more careful. Right? So that's one thing. Second thing is, you can always use what are called dictionary attacks. So dictionary attacks are of the form where, in order to remember things, we try and have complete words as our passwords and append that or prefix that with 1, 2, 3 various other things. Right? So how many of you have passwords like that? Some dictionary word which is not really a nickname or anything, but some dictionary word followed by 1, 2, 3 or some symbols and so on. So you are getting smarter at social engineering. Social engineering attacks are not useful anymore. So generally, again, the key idea is we don't have too many complex words because we want to remember it ourselves, and that way we keep it pronounceable. So this is something that many of us do. Keep pronounceable passwords so that it's always in our memory. Right? Don't have a complex combination of letters. Don't have something like PJXQC or something. Right? We try and keep a mnemonic to that. Right? So this is something that we do, and there are various variations. For example, have 1 digit appended or 2 digits appended, 1 digit prefix or whatever. So there are lots of tips about how to make passwords strong, and these are recommendations from Microsoft. So it says keep the passwords lengthy. Right? The first recommendation is keep the password as lengthy as you can. So the key thing in keeping passwords lengthy is, so there is this level of comfort also. Right? You don't want to keep typing 4 paragraphs just to keep it lengthy. At the same time, you don't want it too short to expose to others. like expose yourself to brute force attacks or dictionary attacks and so on. So you need to get a trade-off between how often you're going to use something versus how often it is vulnerable to various things. So it's like any other engineering thing. Usability versus safety or security here. Right? So when I want my password to be more usable, I try and keep it very simple and short so that I can quickly type in and get things. Right? But this is okay for certain things that I do. So for example, I do have an Outlook account, I do have a Facebook account, but I don't really use any of them regularly. So I don't mind having very simple passwords for you to go and guess or whatever. I wouldn't mind it because I don't really have any information on that. But I have my personal email address, I have my bank account and so on. I don't want somebody to come and start guessing on what my password should be. So sometimes I even go to the extent of creating usernames which are different. Right? Not just passwords that are different, even usernames that are different. So this is something, even if the passwords are the same, we try and keep the username the same, right? Many places, we try and get the same username. This at yahoo.com, that at Google, gmail.com. We try and get all those in one go, so that nobody else will get the same ID later. So passwords is one thing. Make the passwords as lengthy as you can. But there is a bit of a caveat here in keeping a password lengthy. Your password is as lengthy as what a server says it to be. Right? So let's say you type a 20-letter password. What if the server is not really taking all the 20 letters? So this is again something that happened in my grad school. And the grad school said you can have passwords that are as long as you want. And I tried various things like 14 characters and so on. And after a few months of usage, I figured that it's actually taking only the first 8 characters anyway. Right? They said yes, we will take it, but they're not using it. Right? So you don't know whether this is really happening, even in the websites or places where it allows you to have multiple or lengthy passwords. Right? So this is something that you have to pay attention to. So once in a while you have to start guessing. So let's say a website or some authentication system claims it can take more than certain digits. Try and find the very first few digits and see if you get access to it. Right? It means it's taking 40 characters, fine, but it's probably using only the first 8 characters also. Then combine numbers, letters, symbols, all of them. Don't use just letters. Don't use just numbers. Many times they actually stop you from doing it also. Many websites are getting smarter at this. They don't let you use only letters and so on. Use combinations of letters, symbols. Use different kinds of types of characters. Right? Don't just use mostly letters and some digits, mostly digits, some letters and so on. Try and use the entire keyboard. Right? Don't always use only one side of the keyboard and so on. So one kind of popular attack, at least in all these net cafes, is sniffing over the shoulder. Right? So let's say you're sitting in a net cafe and I'm standing behind you. You may not know that I'm standing behind you, and you start typing things. I may not really see the password that you're typing, but I know in which side of the keyboard you are in. Right? Do you ever use numbers at all or not? Do you ever press the shift key to use some of the alternate characters? I may actually notice some of these things. Right? And what if I have a camera that is set up? Let's say I am a net cafe owner, and I have a camera that is set up to focus on keyboards. How would you know that something like that is not there? Right? So having using the entire keyboard is useful in that sense. Try and use the entire keyboard as much as possible and have as complex as possible as possible. It's also good to use passphrases instead of passwords. So passphrase is actually a combination of things. So it could be something like a famous quote, a favorite poem that you have. It could be some elementary school rhyme, whatever it is, right? Whatever that you know is dear to you and you can't forget it. You have that as your passphrase. And don't leave the passphrase as it is. Have the password or passphrase also changed. So it's always good to use a passphrase because first of all, passphrases are much longer than just a combination of passwords. So how do you create a strong and memorable password? So how do you go about doing that? There are various simple ways, and I think each one has our own technique, right? All of us have our own techniques of how to create a password that is complex enough, but also something that we can remember easily. Right? Don't we have mechanisms like this? So when we create passwords, so how do you create passwords? No, anyone. If you want volunteer, go ahead. How do you create a new password?